Reality TV, brainwashing kids, people doing bids, hurt kid apocalypse, what's going on? What's up, everybody? My name is Blue Nile, here with my homegirl, Angie. We wanted to come on here and start talking about, obviously, I'm a queer Black woman, originally from the East Coast here in Los Angeles, California. I am sober and in recovery, coming on 4 years. I come from some generational trauma, and me and one of my best friends here we got sober together. How you doing, Angie?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm blessed. I'm blessed and highly favored. I'm trying to, I'm grateful to be able to share my story on how I got sober, how I got here, how I have broken the trappings of being born in the hood, in Boston and going to New York and, being in the music industry for a very long time. And, also a survivor of sexual trauma and lots of abuse. And I went to drugs and alcohol to numb that pain. I don't know. What you think, Angie?
I mean, that's kind of what drew me to you.
Yeah.
The irony is we would be drinking in the same rooms.
Oh, so
we were drinking in the same rooms and didn't even know each other.
Blacked out.
Out.
Backstage at the Rose Bowl at the Douce Bar.
It was janky.
It was.
Then I think my first experience with the rooms was just going to a Thursday meeting and it being a bunch of white women. And
yes.
I mean, no hate on white women. It's just that it was unrelatable a bit. And then the next week I saw you, and then I saw, our grand sponsor, Laura, and it was women of color, like telling really powerful, relatable stories. And I think that kept me there.
Yeah. You said something key. It's like seeing someone that looks like me. That is really important for me too. Like I at first had a sponsor, and the 12-step programs have saved my life, but she was a white woman and I'm multi-race. But then I found my sponsor who was a Black woman and I needed that identification, and the big book, the 12-step rooms can be off-putting for Black and queer people because, for me, the Valley meetings were, a little vanilla, Love them. No diss also. But this is
amazing sobriety, like foundational, amazing sobriety. Just not seeing ourselves reflected.
Yeah. But then when we met each other, it was like that identification of Me Too, like the powerful Me Too movement, which is obvious, like the trauma. But when my sponsor, her grand sponsor, put us together and was like, y'all need to sit down and have coffee and talk. And we were like, nope,
not happening. I don't fuck with her.
I saw her immediately, and I was like, dang, okay, when you can tell when somebody is a kindred spirit, and we have a similar story, and it's gonna be powerful. And we weren't ready for a couple months, a couple weeks,
and there were no more excuses. Your story was my story.
Yes,
and I knew that sitting down, it was going to be having, and I think our recovery is always having to be looked at a lot. Like we never had the pink cloud.
The pink cloud.
Which
Shout out to Pink Cloud Studios. Like, what is the pink cloud?
What? I literally looked it up. And I was like,
we got jokes because, listen, people are like, yeah, first up, you give up drugs and alcohol, and then you got this pink cloud.
No.
I'm like, no, son, I was then faced with all my trauma and fear, and I think now in my 4th year, I'm starting to experience that pink cloud, to be honest.
No, it's
taken a long time.
We had flat tires like every other week.
Every single tire went flat. I rode it till the wheels fell off, all the way off, like toxic relationships.
Oof.
Man, and I was toxic, so that's why I was in toxic relationships, you know what I'm saying? And I couldn't see that at first until I finally, again, met my best friend here, Angie, and we sat across finally in the Valley and was like, what's up? What's your story? We were both on step 1, powerless and unmanageability, which
you brought the big book.
I did bring the big book.
We read what was it?
Who knows?
Who fucking knows?
Who knows? We read it all.
But I respected your discipline, I guess is what I'm trying to say, because at first the book didn't really, the 12 and 12 I love. But the book itself was difficult. But hearing you break it down and kind of, you are a poet and you also are an MC.
Yes.
And I think the way that you were able to break it down, I was able to understand it a little bit more.
And change the language, sometimes I had to hear she instead of he, and just higher power or goddess instead of like, I think that is also off-putting when people come to whatever 12-step program you're going through and you see all this literature that's written in 1930s by some white men that don't look like us and definitely don't have our story, but we have the same feelings. And I heard enough shares and meetings where like, look at the similarities, not the differences. And I was like, what does that mean? Now I get it. So it's like I changed the language for me because I was desperate. I was like, God, the gift of desperation. I was desperate for change and transformation. Right. And I was like, all right, if I got to say she, if I can say God sometimes, but if I'm healing some trauma about men, I don't want to hear he or Lord. You know what I mean? Like, that's bottom line.
Or surrender.
Or surrender.
Like surrender, I was like, we like coming from trauma, that wasn't, and that
surrender to win?
Win? No. I'm good. That makes no sense.
I had to really digest that for a couple years.
But then like Leah, shout out to Leah, my
yes,
amazing sponsor. She was like, okay, instead of surrender, substitute freedom.
Yeah.
And I think that was
Leah.
like, she's gonna have to be a guest on
oh
this
my
too.
goodness. And that whole like softening into boldness, like we needed to soften. Like I know I can say we in that because we
walked in.
All I knew was anger at first. Like that was the safest emotion for me to really go through. I had to also do therapy. Like all I knew was anger. I was trying.
I'm dying. We couldn't. We had to go to meetings and we'd have our backs to the wall because nobody could sit in back of us.
We're G's coming from the streets. You don't sit with your back to the door.
We'd get there early and we'd save each other seats and we get highly mad in the corner with our backs up to the wall.
Trying to fight the old timers.
No one wanted to sit next to
move
us.
my seat. I'm like, who are you talking to? I ain't moving my seat. Oh my goodness, I was rare form. I was rare form. But thank God, like that's what they say. Like it talks about recovery, unity, and fellowship, right? The recovery is like I am sober. I choose to stay sober. I don't drink and use drugs and alcohol. The unity, like this is unity and fellowship. I need to have my people like that Me Too movement that I was talking about, like the identification of, being a trauma survivor, and now turning into a thriver because surviving just ain't enough for me. Right. And I know people who are like, just don't drink or use no matter what. That's it. No, son, that's not my story. Like that's.
And that's cool for the first 2 years until we start to, there's landmines of trauma that are coming up.
And if that's for you, cool. Like all of us want different things, and I'm not dissing anybody. This is just my little perception, and I understand we all need and want different things.
I guess we should have put that disclaimer in the beginning.
Well, we will.
What is it? The views expressed here are just ours. Take what you like.
But yeah, breaking the cycles of trauma and pain and, isolation, where it's like only an addict, right? Addictdotes here will treat loneliness with isolation. Like, what kind of paradox is that?
Oh, that goes so well.
What?
I still do that.
I know.
And I'm grateful for you for being able to coax me out.
Yeah.
You come looking for me.
Always. And I always will. And that's what I'm saying. Like, there's no unconditional love of the rooms. Like, that's why I'm a total advocate for mental health, for therapy, for all 12-step programs, because it's like everyone needs help. Everybody, whether it's, some type of money spending, gambling, sexual, relational, like love,
family.
It's all out there and there's help for us, and they just want donation. People out here trying to help each other for just donation based, you know?
And I think another thing that we were touching on too is like, and I think they've come up more and more in the BIPOC rooms, which I'm very grateful for, is like the history of alcohol, the history of like alcohol with our lineage. I mean, I know, your father's Jamaican, right? Jamaican and black. And just the we kind of talked about like the whole Frederick Douglass thing, and how alcohol initially was like being used to keep slaves, in their place, more or less. And I think that, Frederick Douglass, and that's kind of what inspired this, was just like to go way back and see the damaging effects of alcohol. And I think like Frederick Douglass was like really a visionary in the temperance movement. And it wasn't just like alcohol. It was like, it's keeping you subdued.
Yes.
And now in present day, it was just keeping us subdued.
Enslaving us.
And in more than one way, you know.
Even when you went to Egypt, because you know
Oh.
your lineage is Egyptian and amazing, and talk about what happened with the oils and alcohol,
Oh yeah,
because
yeah,
that's
yeah.
such a
That
great
was
story.
that was powerful. So I was what, 9 months sober? Yeah, I was
Mm-hmm.
9 months sober at the time, and I had the gift of going to Egypt, where I'm from. My mother and father are from the South, and so I wasn't drinking. So I was like, I'll take an alchemy
Yeah,
class,
yeah.
which was dope. And then in alchemy, they were kind of like basically going into breaking down what alcohol means. So it means alcohol, and so it means body eating spirit. So they believe when you consume alcohol, you're basically, your spirit's being extracted from you.
Body eating spirit.
Yeah,
Just gotta say that one more time.
body eating spirit. And so in that time when your body's being, I mean, when your soul's being extracted, you black out, right? And when you black out, another entity is able to like take you for a ride, more or less. And so that explains, you know, all the fuckery that happens when you wake up from a night of being obliterated.
Debauchery.
But I just and yeah, I mean, basically they were like, how do you think perfumes are made? How do you think oils are made? I mean, alcohol's used to extract and clean medical utensils, and then they went into how tomb raiders were going into the tombs and basically stealing the mummy wraps, soaking them in alcohol so they can extract you know, those magical powers that the pharaohs and the queens and the kings had. But it was just
crazy.
like, I think it hit me like, damn, like you're really, you're spiritless.
Yeah,
Like you're
yeah.
spiritually, you're gone. Like
Our spirit leaves our body,
Yeah.
and then these other entities are allowed to enter. I'm all about. I'm super. You know, we're super spiritual,
Right.
And I believe all that is true. Because I did nothing but black out. Like I would black out all the time with alcohol.
and you're not in your power. And I think that's
Never,
what like
never,
that's
never,
what
never.
Frederick Douglass's like his address was trying to say. Like when he was addressing people, was like, this is what it's doing to us. And I think
Yes.
Malcolm X had a similar.
Yeah.
I mean, and two different men in two different movements,
Yeah.
but all saying the same thing,
Different
which
thought-provoking,
Yeah.
like revolutionary people.
hence revolutionary Addictdotes.
Yeah. But then, so like coming here and realizing, you know, my whole life of, you know, not being given the tools of life and not knowing how to what is it called? When I
Self-soothe?
Yeah, when I self-regulation, not being able to self-regulate, not being taught how to regulate my emotions. And then some people, which I love in the rooms, talk about they have this amazing parenting situation and they come from Disney character lives and are still alcoholics and addicts or mental illness, and it doesn't matter. I like hearing that because sometimes I think I know my trauma put me in the fast lane, and you know, God bless my mom and all that, you know, I can speak about it in a better way now. But look, like my mom was a street life person, you know. She was a pimp, turned her out at the age of 13. So she was in New York doing, you know, the thing on the street. And that's what I was born into. So like being around strippers and prostitutes and in strip clubs at the age of 3 and 4, and like just seeing the coke plates at the parties. And of course, that's where I was going to end up, right?
Of course.
So I didn't have, and my dad, like I didn't meet him till I was 8, and he was an ex-hustler, you know, and then it's just so weird. And he had a double life, you know. It's like people, no matter what, when you try to become a better person, you know, he was singing in the church, but then the other him haunted him, you know, the ex-pimp drug dealer. So he would always try to dabble in drugs again. And then what happened at the age of 55, it took him from me because, you know, no matter what, like I think religion is, I love it, and I'm not down in anything, but I went to church one of my times, and my pastor was like, "You're saved from drugs and alcohol." And I thought I was saved. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to go smoke some weed now.
Oh, I love that.
I called Leah. I was like, Leah, my pastor just told me I'm saved. I'm no longer an addict. Jesus took it from me. I'm going to smoke some weed. That's an addict, right?
And did you go out or did,
I
you
smoked
went
some motherfucking weed.
Yeah.
And but I wasn't out of ideas. I say sometimes church and religion works for some folks. Like I wish it would have worked for my dad, but it didn't because like he ended up going out and it killed him, you know, because like he thought he could dabble and party. Like once an addict, always an addict. Like we don't graduate out of this, which I know I would love to hear from some amazing people in this room who have 24 years or 34 years. I don't know. But like at 4 years, it's like I can think I'm healed. I'm good. I'm 4 years away from 6 years, because it ain't been that messy for 6 years. But, you know, 6 years ago was messy. But, you know, I went out. I stopped trying to do the recovery program because I had other ideas, and it talks about that. I needed to go do some research. I thought for me as a healer, I'm a musician, a poet, all that stuff, but I'm also a Reiki master, and I've just been researching and studying the ancient wisdoms of the world since I was a kid, because that's what I am. Like, I had a spiritual hole in my body, so I was trying to fill it. I've been baptized 4 times. So I wanted to go do ayahuasca. So I went to do ayahuasca, and I wasn't finished. Thought that might cure my addiction, So I went smoke some weed, and I booked my ayahuasca with my shaman. Didn't heal anything, y'all. So if you're listening to this, it's not going to save you. Ayahuasca
And it
is
probably
not
pissed your
going to
sponsor
save
off.
you. Well, yeah, I was out, so she had no, you know what I mean?
She was no longer your sponsor.
She still was though. Thank God.
Okay.
Shout out to Laura, because
Shout out to Laura for
she's been my
space.
sponsor for 6 years, and this is what I'm saying. I went and did some research projects a few times, and she always was there. And somewhere low key in the back, I feel like I was testing them, like, oh, you just want me to be a part of this 12-step cult,
Low key.
like.
Low key?
Let me see if you still gonna love me when I bounce. You know,
You were testing them every week.
every day.
And it was like flagrant too. Like,
Sorry about that.
it was flagrant shit. Like, I don't believe that. What did Laura say one time? I don't even remember. It was funny,
So many things. Like, she was sharing, my sponsor was talking about like fear. When I first tried to do the fear inventory, I literally got up and said, I ain't doing this, and I left the table. Because if anybody can relate, like when you come from the streets of Boston and like New York, LA is a different kind of streets. It's paint like this palm trees, and it's beautiful, like in the concrete jungle in the winter sun. Like, it's cold out there, and you over there dodging. All right.
The streets out here are like, you can live on the streets.
It's a different kind of streets, and there's trouble in both. But like, for me, I had to be fearless, like being in these rooms with these gangsters and doing all the things that I was born into. So I perpetuated thinking I could live a street life, but my heart is too big for that. And I wasn't born, I had to have no fear. So I did not know how to identify fear. It's something I'm actually just now ready to look at. I had to be fearless.
Yeah. And like, I think I'm just hearing you speak, and I think it's so poignant to talk about, like, when you were in the studio, like how alcohol became necessary, God, to navigate around men. And
from the like my music industry life, like, are you kidding me? Like, even that having a record deal at a young age, and my manager putting a gun to our head, like, and I was like, what, son? Like, I talked about that with my sponsor. She was like, oh my God. And I'm like, what? That ain't nothing. Because I'm that desensitized from all my trauma. I was like, that's normal. It was not normal. That's horrific. So me being around these gangsters and sharks, and then coming out to LA, and it even being worse because now I'm with these superstar celebrity mega moguls in these studios, right? And it's sharks and piranhas, and I am drinking and numbing to even be around these people. And it just got bad. It got worse. So like, thank God I'm an addict, because it kind of probably saved me, because people that I had to stop, because I wanted to isolate. I would be shameful. I would like just cancel all sessions. I would go into hiding because of the rumination in my mind, like the obsession of my mind of what was said, what wasn't said. Oh my God, the way they looked at me, like, other girls.
And even like the predatory shit.
Oh God.
Like the predatory shit's like on another level.
Yeah. Allowing that to happen, and in the music industry, the sexism, and of course hip hop, it's degrading women from the start. You know what I mean? Not all
some
hip-hop.
of it's dope. Some of it's amazing. I mean, the core of hip hop's dope.
Yeah, I mean, how it started, it was political and activism, you know what I mean? And I loved it, but unfortunately, it's just there's people of power, and it's,
right.
I'm trying to say a lot without even saying a lot.
With any creative, with any creative field, I think it, when any money's involved, it starts to become, and then it requires you to have a level of being intoxicated. Yeah. Especially as a woman, and just being talked to inappropriately
and allowing that. When you said key, like, alcohol is a spirit eating body.
Body and spirit. Yeah. It basically takes you out of yourself.
So I was never in my power. Like, my power was taken away from me at the age of 7 when I was assaulted, by one of my mom's pimps. And like, that happens, and I could act because I'm an actress and I'm a fucking performer. So it was easy.
You found cocaine then?
I found cocaine at a very young age. But when I was in these rooms, in these hip hop rooms, and I was allowing men to, just say things, and just because I thought that's how it was supposed to go. Like, so it doesn't have to be like that. Like, as a woman, I am allowed to say, no, I don't care who you are. If fame is being dangled in front of your face, and it's these people you've idolized since a young age, You know what I mean? Like, we do crazy things. I know men do it too. It's just kind of it's the dream. And we're in Hollywood. Right. It's like, what? I want to work with this person. Like, I should be so grateful to be recording with this person. Like Dr. Dre, I'm in the room with him. Like, I'm in the room with Diddy. Like,
but I love
these are dreams, right?
But I love that you and I were like, we'll hook you up with other girls.
Oh, yeah. That was my MO. Let me bring the more chicks that are going to do for you what I just can't. But I'm still going to laugh it off and allow you to think I'm gonna, which is not respecting myself.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I see that in the rooms, thankfully, that they're starting to touch on that. Like how in our communities, alcohol sets the tone. And then there's all these like, hidden subtleties from our trauma, how we treat one another, how men treat women, all of that. And then alcohol being a necessary element to even engage or do your, like for me, I had to drink to create.
Oh my goodness.
I had to drink to design, to travel, to do any of that, to be in rooms with three,
to deal with that sexual
three
inappropriate
white men that apparently didn't get the memo that apartheid was over. So yeah, it's just, it's those layers.
Apartheid, but we still have that economic apartheid.
Yeah. Well, that's a whole another episode.
That's another episode. But again, talking about women as using alcohol and drugs just to make it through the day, with these powerful men who, now it's being talked about with the Me Too movement. And it's like, why didn't she just say no? Why didn't she leave? Like, man, it's a power dynamic that happens with a powerful man who was like, you're going to do this for me. And then like, if you come from trauma, I'm seized by fear. I can't move. I can't speak. I can't tell anybody. And then I'm drinking and numbing. That's why the fuck I didn't say no. That's why I didn't tell somebody sooner. Like, you can't have an opinion on that unless you've been into it, unless you've experienced it,
Right. And then it keeps you there. Like I remember my therapist was like, well, what if like this is just a job. And what if you stop drinking? Could you be there?
Yeah.
And I was like, oh,
nope.
I don't think so. Nope. And then that's when I knew I had to make a decision, right? Mm-hmm. Like if I was to get, and that's I think what sobriety, the beautiful thing about sobriety, like you get, your life changes. You have to create a life that you can maintain your sobriety in. And I could not stay in an environment like that. No. And create and like,
well, have your dignity and self-respect and love. And like the same way when Laura was like, okay, so now you have to stop going to these rooms or you have to like call them out. And I'm like, what?
Yeah.
I was like, wait, I can't go make music there anymore.
Right.
She's like, well, if you want to, tell them no and say, call them out. And I'm like, I'll get blackballed. I'll get blacklisted. Like who does that to that person?
I know.
And so it's a mind trip because with recovery, you only have to change one thing, everything. I was like, what? You got to change your friends. You got to change your life. Man. You got to change. And that's how it sucks.
Your career sometimes. Well, just pave your own lane.
Yeah. But like that's because it's not for everybody who wants it and need it. Right. I wish it was. It's for those who do it. It's difficult. It's difficult. And my heart goes out. I wish I could just give recovery to all these people I see struggling, by choice, just staying homeless because it's easier for them. Like facing your trauma and your fears and your secrets is difficult, but it's doable. And that's why we wanted to come and start a podcast and be like, look, we did it. If you look like us, like I feel you, if you don't see yourself in the rooms or if you are like, wait, I can't tell these secrets because my family is going to be, guess what? It's okay because my freedom is totally depends on my honesty and my ability to speak my truth. And it's my truth. And my mother has been upset about, I write poetry, I write songs about it. And I said, with all respect, Mom, this is my story, and I love you. And, she's got her battles with it, but guess what? I have to do it respectfully. And at first it might have not been so respectfully, but guess what? I made amends.
It was not respectfully, but it was...
but this is my story.
But that's what you needed. And I saw you walk through that and it was beautiful, and it was inspiring for me. Like the journey's not going to look beautiful at all times.
It's not. And that's like with healing trauma and being survivors. And I'm excited because I have a new book coming out and it's called Trauma Thriver. And I've recorded it and I wrote it because it's the next level from surviving to thriving. Like I've been surviving for so long. Enough is enough for me. I want to thrive. I want to thrive. I want to go beyond that. And with any therapist, they'll tell you, like the first thing that my therapist suggested to me was like, okay, you need to tell your mother what happened to you. And I was like, what? She's going to kill herself. No, what's going to happen? I can't. The therapist was like, honey, you can't think about none of that. It's all about you. And same with recovery. It's like my side of the street. Everybody has their own higher power, their own lives. They are okay. I am not God. I can't control what happens to another person. I can only control myself. And in order to claim my power back, I have got to share my truth, especially when it comes to mommy, daddy wounds. I got to, if I can, say it to them and pull back my power. Everybody does it differently. Some people write letters, I was lucky enough that my mom is still alive. My dad is gone and I had to write letters for that. But my mom, I had to tell her. And it was hard as a motherfucker, but I did it. And I am free now. And I am free from, I don't know, I just have such a sense of self-worth now. And I love myself now. I hated myself and didn't even know I hated myself. Why? Because all women are actresses, probably men too. We all act, put on a suit, especially men, that toxic masculinity, like boss up, machoism and stuff, and women, we have that in East Coast. Like we're unfuckwittable, like.
But I was there actually when you told your mom. Remember, it was like it was a moment, and it was beautiful because you were able to be like. I mean, I remember hearing her kind of like, not discount it, but
totally discount it.
Okay, discount it.
Yeah, it's okay. Say the truth.
Discount it, write it off, sweep it under the rug. Like this, that's just what generational trauma does. Like the shit wasn't that bad. You had food and lights and. Over your head, like you were getting touched, get over it. It's basically, that's basically my father's response. Yeah. And I heard that and I heard you assert yourself and I heard you use recovery and I heard you be like, okay, well, we can't talk then. Yeah. I'm going to have to take some time off.
Yep.
Because if that's the way you feel, and then I heard her she went into the whole thing of like, she made it about her and her pain and and you still stayed.
Trying to take me hostage with her emotions.
But you stayed sovereign, and you did the work.
Yeah, and that's all thanks to recovery. Right. Like I couldn't have done it without being sober and without learning from my sponsor and all of the people who share in these rooms, and my therapist. So my point, like we can't do it alone, like waking up one day and be like, I want to change myself. Like, what do? You go look for some motivational stuff on YouTube or like a self-help book or all that's cool. But like there are rooms with people who are like, look, this is how I saved myself. Let me help you.
Right. And so we got lucky. Like,
yeah. We did.
Our sponsors are like
our sober family. Like we get to chosen family, like to heal that. Like unfortunately, like I don't really have a big biological family. Mm. I do, but they're not really, they're not there for me.
And they taught us. They're the ones who taught us like to love ourselves. I feel like Laura and Leo were very big on. coming from, mother. Our two mothers are not.
Yeah.
They're not going to get Mother of the Year awards anytime soon. But they did their best with what they had. Anyway, but it was a blessing to meet two women that were like, no, you're safe.
Yeah.
And no, you can walk into a room and be all these things. And and I think that was the catalyst.
And keep your self-respect.
Yeah, and not like me and you we would lunge across the table.
Quick.
My
just reactive.
Just reactive. I saw it in the rooms. I saw it in traffic. I saw it in, and it was not ladylike. And there's just a softer way, and they modeled that for us until it was beautiful. It was beautiful to see women in their power and just be like, no, without having to reach across the table and choke someone.
Yeah, and again, going back to we didn't have the tools,
right.
And it's just decolonizing our mind, decolonizing our because from that being a woman, sexism and patriarchy and just our generational trauma, it's like there's so much that goes into it. I remember talking to my friends and they would be like, okay, Oprah, just like, so, all right, Oprah, settle down, calm down. And I'm like, no, I got to heal my inner child. They're like, whoa, woo, woo. It's not woo, woo. This is scientific. Like neuroscientists talk about this. Like I am obsessed with that. I'm obsessed with changing my brain because I should be dead, and.
But remember you were with those same friends one night.
Yeah.
And they were getting fucked up.
Yep.
And you were trying to speak some truth. And you called me to come get you.
Oh, yeah.
Those are when your tires gate up.
Yeah, my God.
But you had four tires all out, the rims. Anyway,
shoot.
The point is, it was like 90 days. 90 days.
Yes.
And you called,
90
and
days sober,
they
y'all.
hit you with the calm down, Oprah. and you call me
or it ain't
hot.
that bad. And they were friends from New York
Right.
too. So like, you ain't an alcoholic. Like you
Oh,
can,
yeah,
you can smoke
that.
weed. Like that's not true. Like we know you, you know, like, and because I was so new in recovery, that affected me. And I really thought they were right because they knew me for years, right? From New York. Nah, like.
That was the beginning of our phone call. You're like, maybe I'm not.
Yes.
Maybe I could smoke.
Oh,
I'm like, where?
Lord.
Give me your address right now.
You came.
Yeah.
Oh,
I
I
mean,
love you so
yeah.
much.
Well, that we were lucky. We were lucky that we were able to like, we tell each other our ideas, and we were like, that doesn't sound good.
Well, I trusted you. Like that's a whole trust.
Trust.
Like
I didn't
learning
trust any
like,
woman.
My sponsor truly was the first person I learned to trust, and then you,
Yeah.
and then myself.
Right.
You know what I mean?
In that
like,
order.
I trust
Me
all
too.
y'all before I trusted myself, and
Totally,
Leah.
yeah.
And like that was, so that's why it's like no matter what, like I can't do this alone. If you can find one person to trust, like just one person that has more time, that has completed, therapy. And I know we're talking about 12 step because this is what this podcast is about. But in general, if you're not into it, like,
And the
I
men
don't
in
know,
the
good
rooms,
luck.
like we were able to meet some like safe men. Me and you had not.
Yes. And heal that
and
wound.
heal that, and like really be able to have friendships and build trust and
Yeah.
and there's men that are a solid part of our recovery.
Yeah.
Which,
And thank God for that, because
Yeah.
that's too heavy to carry. Like I don't want to carry the weight on my shoulders anymore. I want to be free. I want to live. I want to love all people, men and women, and feel safe, and no matter what. And when I walk into rooms sometimes, and that's what was happening to me in these rooms with these powerful men because of my trauma and, the pimps and what I went through, like I would just shut down.
Right.
And that's what happens with trauma. It's called disassociation. And I would disassociate from my body in clear sight. I'd be in the room and I'd be gone,
Yeah.
And being an addict, alcoholic, like, and it works differently. People are like, you're not an alcoholic. And that's what I thought. I want to talk about people. I didn't think I was an alcoholic because I had money. I had success. I had, semi-fame or whatever the hell I thought I had. And like, I'm not homeless. Like I was so ignorant to what alcoholism is.
And
Man,
yeah,
there's millionaires next to us that are alcoholics.
And that's the thing. I think that's what we've talked about. Like, it's just, I think that's a myth that needs to be spoken to as
does.
well.
Yes.
Because I think that keeps a lot of people. I know for me, half of the men and half the boys and men and women in my family are either dead or incarcerated because they think alcoholics look a certain way.
Exactly.
Or they think addiction has to look a certain way, like you have to lose everything, and you don't. And in that you die before your time, or you end up doing a long bid and you lose everything. Because you think that you have a car, you have whatever you have. It doesn't matter what you have. I mean, you can still.
The ego,
exactly.
Just living in the ego.
Yeah.
But the emotional bottom, like that's
what it is. Yeah.
See, that's for me, that's how I figured it out, because I didn't go to rehab, like I have a different story.
Yeah,
like
we didn't go to rehab.
Yeah. We realized because we went to therapists.
Yeah. My therapist was like, bitch,
mine
stop
too.
Stop coming to sessions drunk and go to go right now. 3, come back. Yeah.
Thank God.
Yeah,
See, so we had emotional bottoms where it's like, yo, I wanted to kill myself, but not really. So I'm just going to do a lot of drugs and see what happens. You know what I mean?
Suicide on an installment plan.
And it never worked. It's like I overdosed from 17 to 21. I wish I would have known about 12-step programs.
Oh my God. I think that's the thing when we hear people get sober young, like Leah, and other people. It's just like, fuck, like you found these rooms young, and those have been the most impactful people in my recovery.
Yes.
Because all those years that I was out there, like not even just numbing and numbing and numbing. I wish that somebody that had a younger person would have been like, there's another way.
Me too. In like Boston and New York, I had no idea. I was hospitalized, like whatever is that, 50-50, psychotic like breaks or whatever from drugs, from doing too much party drugs, and just. Man, they were putting ecstasy bottles in the champagne bottles when I was on tour, and I was, spinning my shirt like helicopter, like Petey Pablo song was on. I'm like, why am I naked in the club? Oh, I'm on ecstasy, and I felt free. I was like, have arrived, y'all, and I am saved. And that was my power. And then it was just off to the races, and I started. Man, it was really terrifying. Like 17 to 21, like I went through some crazy stuff. And I also very successful, like touring, opening up for all these people, and just like not in my body, y'all. And I had
money, and then money, breeding more what?
Insanity and trauma, and then waking up and the producer's touching me, like, cause I'm passed out in the studio. saying all this to say, like I'm just now at the age of 38, like I found it and I had to move to Los Angeles. Truly thought I was coming here for my career, but I was coming here truly to save my life and to meet my soul chosen family and to find the 12-step programs. And to know that I can help other people that look like me, and know that you can do it, and just give it a new name. And that's what we want to do with this podcast is we're going to just tell our stories also, for our people, for BIPOC community, and to understand that we can break the chains of slavery. We can decolonize our minds. We can heal ourselves from all trauma and heal generational trauma,
Right.
And just learn how to emotionally regulate and not live from our emotions. You know what I mean? Like that's how they got us, like to pause
and
not
pass that
react.
down to one another and just change. Like, it's. I think it's our time.
Yeah, it is our time.
It's been our time, but.
It's been our time. And highly sensitive people, we have, I'm an empath, she's an empath, and I think alcoholics in general, I think all people are very sensitive. This is, as an empath, I didn't know how to deal. Like I said, I didn't know how to emotionally regulate. And that's what we're going to get into episode by episode. And we're going to clearly, design that so we can share these tools that we've learned. And we're going to have people on here with incredible emotional sobriety and recovery and knowledge and wisdom. And just hope somebody out there might be younger than us. And I wish I heard this at 17 and know like wisdom is learning from somebody else and not having to do it myself. Like I had no wisdom. I was a hothead, hothead, was like, I'm gonna do this on my own. I'm gonna do this and it's not learn from other people.
Stand on my shoulders, not on my feet. And that's what it is. It's like people have passed this down to us.
Yeah.
And, this podcast is about just community and just being able to share that.
Yeah. And we're here and we're by ourselves, but we're standing with 10,000 ancestors, so 20,000, 30,000. And we are here to just use our voices because I've taken my power back and I stand in my power and I am rooted in power and that's what I want to pass on to the world. So that's what's up.
That's it. Mic drop.
Mic drop. Send it love to all y'all.
Fire in my heart, fire up in Malibu. Find the gratitude, but a f***ing attitude. Need some medicine, time to get tattooed. America, why you so rude? Pain at a magnitude, infinite latitude. Jumping off the balcony, I need a parachute. Heartbreaking, leaves shaking, turn to ashes. Cycle shooting masses, change coming like molasses. Sam Cooke said it gon' come. My ancestors bleed, young stay dumb. Hands up, don't run. Cop with a gun, black boy shot, billionaire on a yacht. No f***s given, Thanksgiving. Celebrate a massacre while they laugh at ya, ravish ya. Only Christopher, we acknowledge ya. Mr. Wallace, yeah, join the right, yeah.
We all got problems. We all got problems. Be kind. We all got problems. We all got problems. Be kind. Be kind. Be kind. Be kind. Be kind.
Yeah.
We all got problems. Be kind.
Political assassination, domination of a sucking nation. Kanye in the White House, black facing, disgracing, erasing a legacy of activism. Now we all laughing at him, but he lost his mind. Like thoughts of suicide. Mama popping pills, opiate genocide. Homicide horrified, Kavanaugh glorified. Yeah! Should be crucified. Tender age shelter, babies terrified. This is the life we live. Reality TV, brainwashing kids. People doing bids, hurt kid apocalypse. What's going on? What if Marvin Gaye lived? This is the life we live. I'm over all this shit.
We all got problems. We all got problems. Be kind. We all got problems. We all got problems. Be kind. Be kind, be kind, be kind. We all got problems, be kind.
Be kind, be kind, be kind, be kind. Be kind, be kind, be kind. Lift the love up, go, yeah. Lift the love up, let's go. We all got problems, go, yeah. Time to solve them, time to solve them. What's going on? This is the life we live.
We all got problems. We all got problems. Be kind. We all got problems. We all got problems.